Can I have a word with you?
Still upset with me?
I understand what you did and why you did it.
Well, I'm sure your boss has a dimmer view.
He's referring you to the Ethics Review Board. You're gonna have your license revoked. Doug Turley's gonna use this against us if we go to trial. The judge tossed our counter motion to suppress.
Well, ask yourself this. What does Bob Peters really want?
He wants justice for his daughter.
Of course he does. Now, we can't very well put Mr. Hopkins back on trial now, can we? At least not for killing Barbara Peters.
What are you talking about?
We're in a very gray area here, Annabeth.
How gray?
Gray. After I saw you at the hospital the last time, I made a few phone calls. I got my investigator involved. I had him put Mr. Hopkins under a microscope.
What did he find?
Nothing until yesterday. Now, it's my job to defend my clients against whatever they're charged with now and not pass judgment against something that may or may not have happened 15 years ago.
15 years ago?
Jane Darby.
I just accepted John Marinelli's letter of resignation.
We need to hold off sending Marinelli's files to Hannah Turley.
The last thing this office needs right now is to be slapped for contempt.
We can still make a deal with Peters.
Funny, that wasn't the impression I got.
What if I told you there was a way to nail David Hopkins?
What are you talking about?
I think he murdered his college girlfriend.
Are you making this up?
No. Her name was Jane Darby. It happened 15 years ago. Boating accident, supposedly.
Why wasn't this brought up at the Hopkins trial?
Nobody knew.
Well, how is it that you know?
Little Bird told me.
What little bird? Doug Hellman?
No comment.
Judge Jenkins just put me on notice. He's going to cite us with contempt if we go 1 minute past the deadline and Turley doesn't have our material.
I'm stalling as hard as I can. I just got off the phone with Turley's office, told them we were still gathering information.
Tell me you got something we can use.
There was never a police report. Just a coroner report.
Jane Darby's death was ruled death by misadventure, drowned in a boating accident. Hopkins was never even mentioned as the guy reported.
Well, accidental drowning's a long way from murder. And this case is 15 years old. Evidence, if there is any, is going to be hard to come by.
Were Jane Darby's parents aware Hopkins was tried for killing his wife?
They moved out of the state after the accident.
What are the chances they'll authorize an exhumation?
Already have. All these years, they have a lot of unanswered questions about their daughter's death.
If she drowned, it's because somebody caved her skull in.
Why was it ruled a drowning?
Beats me. She had water in her lungs, so technically she did drown. But there's no other way to explain the skull fracture.
Would it have been evident?
Clear as day. Head trauma, blow from a blunt object. You should talk to the chief coroner who signed off on this back in the day, if he's still alive.
How can you sign off on this?
Chief coroners are elected in this state. They're not necessarily doctors. Some are good, some are bad, some are political hacks.
Guess which kind this one was. Checked out the chief coroner, wrote the report. He's retired now. Turns out he's a close friend of the family. David Hopkins' father contributed heavily to his campaigns.
This is exactly why most states have done away with the coroner system. So what was his name?
Harold Jensen. He wasn't even a doctor. Before getting elected coroner, he sold medical supplies.
Proves my point. So this Harold Jensen decided to look the other way, rule it an accident because of the family.
The sheriff's office thought it was an accident, so did the newspaper. There's no need to investigate. The rails are greased for this guy to go along.
All right, we're going to need a statement from him for the record.
When you heard David Hopkins had been accused of killing his wife, why didn't you go to the authorities? Tell them what you knew about Jane Darby?
It wasn't that simple. That boating accident was a terrible tragedy.
Accident?
Well, a couple of college kids, they were out there in the water, drinking, carrying on.
And after the accident?
David Hopkins' dad came to see me. He asked me to spare the victim's family.
And you did this by signing off without an investigation? We did our own autopsy on Jane Darby. If you had done your job and conducted a proper inquiry,
I'm not a doctor. I never claimed to be.
But you knew.
I knew something wasn't right. Even I could see that. But the Hopkins were insistent that this was an accident, best left alone. They asked me to close the case, and I did.
You do see how this looks.
I'm old, not blind. I know what you're saying. Not a day goes by that I don't think about what I did. I should have asked more questions, but I didn't. At the time, I remember thinking how bright David's future was, how he had so much to look forward to.
David Hopkins is a murderer. He killed Jane Darby, and if you'd done your job then, Barbara Peters would still be alive today, and so would Kelly Jaffe. That's a lot of ruined lives, Mr. Jensen.
Stop. Tell me how I can make this right.
You can start by giving a statement. Tell the truth, at last.
We tracked down the boat rental guy. David Hopkins and Jane Darby were arguing that day.
We've got more leads, too. College friends that will testify the relationship was on the skids.
The coroner's statement and the forensic evidence, we got enough.
Arrest Hopkins. Make sure his picture gets in the paper.
Our pleasure. David Hopkins. You're under arrest for the murder of Jane Darby.
Jane Darby? That must be some mistake.
It's no mistake.